Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a August 17th edition of the MSP Initiative, MSP Talk. Thank you for giving us a Tuesday off to run MSP Community Minds, which was our first in-person event after we parked the bus for the Channel Strong Tour. Here we go, mspinitiative.com. This is where everything that we do exists. So under the sessions tab, which I'll zoom in here a little bit more, under the sessions tab, you will see this session and every other session that we've ever done is recorded in both podcast and video format. Feel free to rewind hundreds and hundreds of sessions that go back to 2020. Again, thank you for everyone that came out to MSP Community Minds in Denver earlier this week. Was the very first one. I think it went really well for being our first event. Would really like to thank everybody who joined us and actually spent time creating content with us. There were a ton of MSPs that were on panels. There were individual workshops that were 2 hours at a time. So people like Brad Gross and Juan Fernandez, Pete Bussum, Eric Bowles, Kyle Christensen, Reed Warren from IT Valuations. I'm missing one other person. Oh, Ian Richardson and Matt Lee. Thank you very much for all you guys putting time into run workshops 2 times, not 1 time. So 4 hours of effort across 2 days. And then for everyone else that you see here, these were MSPs that did panels. We had 3 panels. We had a M&A panel, a town hall panel, and the human side of cybersecurity panel. So big thank you to Danny Perry, Henry Tim, JP Kesey, Sheldon Phillips, Seth Kylander, Roddy Bergeron. Thank you very much. And then obviously for our sponsors. We couldn't have done any of this without you. You helped make this event totally possible. I think we kind of changed the event paradigm on its head, and we integrated vendors and attendees together so that there was not this, hey, go to this room somewhere else and go past tables with, pop-up banners, right? Like we integrated these 2 communities, both from an attendee and a vendor, into the same sessions, the same workshops, the same panels. And I think we got a much better outcome for it. So thank you to Ken Patterson and Taylor Business Group, and then B VoIP Carbon Systems, Equilibrium Consulting, and FEMA, Pax8, Threat Locker, Total, Trend Micro, True North Dynamics, and Zorus, our media sponsor, Channel Pro. Thank you very much, guys. We couldn't have done this without you. Made this an absolutely free event, other than traveling to get there for the people that came, and super excited to build on top of this. This is a really great concept. I think we can make this more than just a one and done. So thank you very much for everybody that came out. Ton of pictures, ton of videos. We'll do some recaps of this event. Can't stress enough that we're out to try something different, and I think we actually accomplished something pretty cool. So thank you everyone that came out. We have 3, not 1, not 2, not 3. What am I, LeBron James? We have 3 MSP community block parties, we like to call them. The first one we're calling the boat party. So on August 23rd, coming up here next week, if you happen to be in Fort Lauderdale or South Florida for that matter, you can join us. Or if you're going to the Big conference, check them out. We'll be doing an MSP community boat party on the 23rd from 6 to 9. Then, if you happen to be going to Kaseya DattoCon in the 2nd to the 4th of October, we will be doing a block party event on not the first night, the second night, which is October 3rd. We're starting to kind of move people out of the main hotel around 9:45-ish, and we'll be going to close. So October 3rd, can't miss it. We'll be right down the street from the main conference hotel in Miami. It's going to be great. We've obviously done these DattoCon events for a long time. And then lastly, we'll be doing the MSP community block party at IT Nation in Orlando. So that'll be the first night after the welcome reception. We are about to announce our entertainment for the evening. Last year was the All-American Rejects. This year, we will tell you shortly. Kind of excited, especially if you're a 90s fan. Community offers, these are just hookups from different companies around the community, special offers. And last is our industry calendar, which right now goes until December 31st. And we're now going to start putting in 2024 dates and times as people start shooting those out so that you guys can figure out where you're going and what's happening in the sandbox. Sorry for a longer homework session there. It's just a lot of stuff going out there in IT land and MSP land. And yeah, we love to have good times. With that being said, our special guest today, Chris Marquez, who is over at Ironscales. What's going on, Chris?
How you doing, George?
Hey, man, it's a Thursday. Just trying to, catch up on the mailbox from being out for a few days, but doing pretty good, man. Just really excited that after lots of effort, we pulled off our first kind of hotel style event. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And congratulations on that. Yeah, I feel you catching back up on the mailbox. I was actually just out of town overseas for 11 days and got back Monday, and I feel like I'm still playing catch up. So
100%. Where'd you go?
We went to, one of my good friends, he's actually a PAX 8 director of revenue operations, Jared Smith. Actually, I don't know if that's his title anymore, but he got married outside of Geneva, Switzerland, in Morzine, France. And so my fiance and I extended our trip and went to Spain, went to Ibiza for 4 days, and then went to Barcelona for 4 days. So it was a really, really fun trip. We had some airport shenanigans happen, which I know that you're very familiar with, that were really fun. So, but all in all, it was wonderful.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a song about that Ibiza place. Well, hey, man, I mean, I hope everybody's enjoying their European travels this year, because apparently they're going to start making it like you have to apply for visas and like pay for visas and all this other stuff that's coming, I think, in 2024. So I think the jig is up, but I was able to, I mean, obviously not for vacation, which but for work, we're out in UK a ton. We're in Dublin and then Prague. That was really cool. I've never been there before and probably didn't get enough time perusing and gallivanting around the town, but hey, hope everybody's
Never
getting
enough.
it now.
Never enough.
Never enough. Thanks for promoting this session. I know we did it kind of last minute, and yes, the NFL season is upon us. So yeah, really pumped for my Eagles, who I think got really just shafted at the Super Bowl. I still don't get over the $800,000 field that looks like the slip and slide hose got disconnected and everybody was just all over the place, but okay, I guess. Absolutely amazing that you put on $1 billion event, and the field, which I would argue is pretty important, is not right, but I digress. But yeah, super excited for the Birds. We'll see how your Broncos over there in Colorado do this year.
We'll see if Sean Payton can whip him into shape, right? He's basically said that the coaching last year was the worst he'd ever seen, and everything that they did last year, you could expect to be completely ripped out and replaced. So,
wasn't there something like I watched the first episode of Hard Knocks with the Jets? Like, what was the beef with one of the coaches on the Jets? They're like, that was the comment. Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think it's because it was he was the old coach of the Broncos who got let go, and now he's over at the Jets, and so it's basically Sean Payton giving him grief.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Well, at least there's something to do in the preseason when nothing else is going on. Awesome. Well, you have been in the sandbox. I like to call it MSP land, the sandbox. Everybody tries to build their castles and then sometimes they get washed away. But you've been in the sandbox for a while. So for people who don't know you, Chris, haven't run into you, don't know your story, I always like to start these with like, going down history lane, like, how did you start in the industry? Like what your path was? How did you get to where you're at today? And then like we go from there.
Yeah. So better part of a decade now, almost 8-9 years, I believe I've been in the space. Got my start because of actually Jared Smith, whose wedding I was at. I called him up one day because I needed a job. And he said, I'm going to interview for our friend Ryan Burton, who we all know and love over at PAX 8. And he said, I'm interviewing at PAX 8. Maybe I could get you an interview. And so I went in for an interview with Nick Hetty, and he basically said, well, we have a training round coming up that's full. This is back when we were hiring 6 people at a time. And I was like, I don't know if I can wait that long. Let me know. And 30 minutes later, I'm in the car driving home, and Nick Hetty called and offered me a position at PAX 8. And I believe I was right around the 50th employee, the 12th overall sales rep. This was back when PAX 8 was, I think we had less than 1,000 total partners combined, $1 million run rate company. And so basically started there working with Nick and Jared Pangretic and Ryan Burton and Kip Johnson, who's over in EMEA as the VP now, and really got my start in the space at PAX 8 and helped. I was at PAX 8 from 50 employees through about 550. When I started at PAX 8, we sold, I think it was like 6 or 7 vendors on our line card. We're talking like Symantec and the data maps and Infoscale, Microsoft. We were still a CSP2 under Arrow. And so got our start just, knocking down doors, battling, fighting, fighting the good fight, trying to disrupt the industry, as they say. And, just showing the MSP and MSSP community what we could do differently over there. And throughout my time there, we ended up growing from 7 to 8 vendors to 55 plus. So I've had the lucky experience to work with, between there and LionGuard, over 100 different vendors in our space. And I kind of climbed through the ranks at PAX 8. Was a senior security continuity productivity specialist, was a regional sales manager at one time, and then had the opportunity to take over a regional position at LionGuard under Adam Slutskin, who, once again, wonderful leader in this space, and Sean Slutskin, and ended up moving into a strategic sales manager role at LionGuard, and then had the opportunity to come over here at Ironscales and take over as the director of MSP, MSSP, and I run global alliances for some of our distribution partners such as PAX 8. And yeah, it's been quite the road. I've been lucky enough to work under some of the greatest leaders in the industry, and honestly build relationships with people like yourself. And Ken Patterson I knew from day one at PAX 8, so I've known Ken for the better part of a decade. And so my career's been built through the relationships and just knowledge that I've been able to undertake through the different positions that I've had the joy of being in at this point in time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, by the way. And quite frankly, kind of outlines how the sandbox, as big as we think that it is actually kind of small, right? And like,
Exactly.
it's a relationship game, and the more people interact and communicate with each other, like, it's, I hate to use the cliche, it's who you know, not what you know. I think who you know helps. You still need to have some knowledge to do things, but
it's better
yeah,
together, right? Better together. Hashtag better
exactly,
together.
exactly. So, and we all know and love Ken. We actually had some time with Ken in Denver earlier this week at Community Minds, and he gave a pretty cool session, hour, kind of session on the fact that community is what makes this sandbox so special, and that people need to get out of their castles and their moats and get into the conversation, right? And I think that that's a big part of the message that he put out there, and I do believe it, man. I really do. I think we all the whole Matt Lee, rising all tides, all boats kind of thing. Love that message. It's an effort, man, but everybody has to play their part.
Just one of the few messages that Matt Lee has, right?
Hey, Matt and Don Kirby do a great job. I mean, I think
wonderful.
They were both there together at this week earlier, Community Minds, and they do a lot of great content, which can't have enough of. And yeah, I think people should take a page out of their book, right? Like we had Eric Bowles over there who founded PAX 8 Studios originally, and I just love his message too, right? It's like, you need to like put that afraidness aside and like turn on your camera and just start talking about stuff that you know, that you love, that you're passionate about. And then like it usually builds from there. So no, I mean, great messaging from all those people. And like, hey, you're tied into that story, right? It's how you kind of
Yeah,
got your
and that's been one of my
place.
biggest mentors and advisors throughout my career as well. You know, just listening to Matt speak over time. You know, before he was ever we didn't ever cross paths at PAX 8, but we crossed paths everywhere else in the industry, right? Because Matt is everywhere. And so whenever it came time for me to maybe make a tough decision, Matt was one of my first calls to say, hey, what do you know? Give me some insight. And, you know, his messaging was the same. He's like, open your eyes up, do what feels right to you. If you need any advice, let me know.
100%, 100%. So talk to us a little bit about how, why Ironscales, and like, what are they solving for, the community, right? Like what's their checkbox? What's their answer that they're solving for when it comes to the big package of things that every MSP has to evaluate, hopefully regularly, in the things that they offer their end customers?
Yeah, so Ironscales does a few different things that can check boxes. So first of all, we are an email or an AI based email security anti-phishing platform that with an integrated phishing simulation and security and awareness training platform. So when you're talking about your incident response type controls, when you're talking about having to check the box for security and awareness training, we help check both of those boxes. And with our API based connection, we're utilizing Microsoft's Graph API. We just have a webhook that alerts us, and our AI Themis, who is the Greek goddess of good counsel, bless her soul. She scans emails within milliseconds. And so we're an on-delivery type service, but what really makes us unique is our post-delivery controls. And so when I say post-delivery controls, I mean, one, it's our community. One of those things, once again, better together. So our HI, our human insights, and our AI integrate to make sure that we can actually identify zero-day attacks and unknown threats that are out there, because the second that someone utilizes our report phishing or report email button that you see so frequently out there today, and an analyst actually confirms, or our AI confirms, that it is indeed phishing, we reach out to the rest of our community and we search for the similar footprint, a similar anomaly that's going on. That way we can use our community, which is 10,000 customers plus strong, millions of users that we're supporting and protecting and securing on a daily basis. We're utilizing our community because we know one thing, that technology is only, as 99%, if at the highest. It's going to fail. It's not sure proof. And so that's why we're mixing HI with AI to power us into the future. And then the other part of our post-delivery controls is our recursive scanner. And so with legacy systems, or even some of the ICAS, it's called an ICAS is what we are. We're an ICAS generation 2, which is an integrated cloud email security platform. When mail gets through to the endpoint, if it's not, say, white, or if it's whitelisted, or if it's not a known threat and it gets through a traditional gateway and it's sitting on the inbox, or on the user's inbox, it can weaponize. So it's innocuous when it comes through. And with these social engineered attacks that are so prevalent today, what we have the ability to do is continuously scan the environment and identify those types of attacks the second that they weaponize. So if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, we're going to know it. We're going to be able to quarantine it from not only that user's environment, but every single user in that organization, every single mailbox in that organization's environment at one time with our clustering ability. So you're able to classify an incident on behalf of multiple people at one time, which really streamlines an MSP's ability to, identify what's going on in a matter of a minute, rather than going through the process of looking up whether SPF has failed, whether it's an impersonation attempt, whether DMARC's in place, whether the IP host has been known to be malicious or send malicious content. All of that stuff takes on average about 30 minutes. With Ironscales, you can identify this if Themis hasn't already automated the result for you in less than a minute.
So anytime I always talk to people, I guess the argument is, well, hey, Microsoft already does this, right? Or Google already does this. Like, why should I go outside of their ecosystem or their product set to plug this hole, right? And I can imagine what your response is going to be, but I'm sure this comes up enough. So what is the answer?
We're specialized. I mean, this is what we do. We spend 100% of our time focused on phishing and email security and security and awareness training. And so it's all in one, and we incorporate things like advanced threat protection that are built into our platform. We are evolving by utilizing autonomous phishing campaigns now, which has been a real kind of, it's a drain to have to, as an MSP, to have to go out and create a new phishing campaign on behalf of every single client every single month when you want to send it out. And so we're doing things that are more automated. We're utilizing features like our it's called Fish LLM, which is our large language model. It's like a chat GPT feature that we're adding in to try to save MSP's time and automate everything that they're doing.
So let me just get this straight, right? You have the additional email protection, right? Both on the front and after it's been delivered. You have the phishing automation testing, so that you can keep your users on their toes and make sure that you're doing the checkbox of like, trying to catch them before somebody else does, right? Kind of thing. That's cool. And you're doing this in such a way where it's centralized.
Yep.
And
multi-tenant. Yep. Multi-tenant dashboard, manage all your customers from one spot.
Okay. So and then the argument is, hey, whatever Microsoft has is great. This is still going to do more than what they're doing, because what they're doing isn't perfect.
Yeah. And if anyone ever, and that's always a good argument. And what I always tell our partners is, give us a try, because we have what's called, we're no commitments, no quotas to become an Ironscales partner. You can do it with us direct or through some of our distribution partners, but we have what's called a 90-day scan back in place where you can turn us on in silent mode, and we will go out and we will do exactly what it sounds like. We will scan back that environment, every mailbox in that environment, every piece of mail in that user's inbox for 90 days. And we will pull back a report that shows how many active incidents that we would have classified, or how many potentially malicious emails are in that ecosystem that weren't caught by their existing vendor, whether it be Microsoft or any other vendor in the space. And so it'll categorize it, whether it's by malicious link or attachment, whether it's the community. Once again, our community thinks that it's deemed it's malicious. And one of the other things that we do differently is, instead of looking for just malicious content, we're looking for malicious intent. Because one of the biggest things that we've seen these days is a piece of mail that it might get through. If it doesn't have, it'll get through a traditional SEG, through a traditional service or traditional email gateway, is if there's no malicious attachment or malicious URL and it's not blacklisted, then it'll go right through. But the language of the email will say, hey, and if it's an impersonation attempt, it'll say, hey, I need you to send me a wire transfer for $10,000, or I need you to send me $1,000 in Amazon gift cards. We've all seen this happen multiple times. And so with us, we actually look at the body of the email and identify if there's malicious intent involved as well as malicious content.
Okay. So that's actually pretty cool, because that stuff happens all the time. I mean, and unfortunately, I think even they're trying outside of email sometimes. They start trying to text people, right? And they're like, hey,
And we actually incorporate smishing in our simulation testing and our phishing simulations. We incorporate SMS hacks or SMS phishing emails as well, or smishing emails.
I love that term, smishing.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, this stuff happens all the time, and like, unfortunately, like, low-hanging fruit for the bad guys, right? Like, they kind of do it because it's easy and they do it to a lot of people at once. And then whoever pulls down, the apple, then they got you.
Yep.
So no, I mean, I love the fact that you incorporate the SMS part because, by the way, not many people do. So that's really cool. I assume that you got to preload all of the like that. Well, that brings a good question. How do you implement this? Like, do you sync over users that are already in your email system? Do you have to do it manually? Like, what's the process look like?
Yeah, so it's all automated, and like back to the 90-day scan back. So we'll pull all of that, the different content or the different categories, but we'll show you who the top targeted employees are in the organization, the top targeted departments, what the most visited domains are, who the VIP users are, so the executives. And so when it comes to the phishing simulations that you can send out, we actually integrate via AD Sync with Microsoft, right? And so there's different groups that you can sync, and it's all automated. You can select for it to go out to the whole company. You can select different departments, or you can actually select it by awareness level. And so we integrate, like I said, our SAT, our SAT is integrated into our platform. And so we actually use a ranking of individuals to help the individuals that are basically more I don't want to say intelligent, but have a higher acumen to identify potentially malicious emails, to protect the ones that don't, because they're higher ranked. And the way that you get ranked higher is by utilizing the report phishing button correctly. It's by reporting phishing. It's by not getting caught by the phishing simulations that are sent out. And when it comes to the simulations, we work with multiple different providers that it's the content you can upload your own content, but in most times it's not necessary, because we have content that ranges from not only phishing simulations, but new employee training to recommended, like what's going on at this point in time. So Memorial Day, is it Memorial Day that's coming up? But
Let's just call it
yeah,
before the
I
NFL season
can't always give
starts,
it,
end of
but
summer
4th of
holiday.
July, like 4th of July, for instance,
Yeah,
there was a bunch
Labor
of
Day, Memorial Day, yeah.
W2 scams are always huge. And that's where it's with our autonomous campaigns, where you have the ability to just give us a schedule, and our AI will go out and decide what is the right phishing simulation to send out at that point in time. And it'll do it all automatically and simply send you the results.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I got from this past week in Denver was everybody's just kind of following everybody else. Like, there's no because there's, just like everything else, there's so many ways to ultimately lead to Rome, right? Like, everybody's just like, I don't know which direction, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Like, do I do this first? Do I do this next? What's the big picture look like? It's a little bit of follow the leader. And I'm kind of concerned that the whole follow the leader is the blind's leading the blind a little bit. Not to try and be negative, but I think everybody has a chart of things that they're like, you should have a product in XYZ, but I think it's a little bit like a fire hose. I don't think these people have like enough time to understand what the whole thing is supposed to look like. And then for me, it's like they just do a lot of Me Too things, right? Yeah, I'm doing that. We have an offering for that. I mean, I've always joked, but it's not too far from reality, that every time an MSP gets a call from either an existing customer or prospective customer, they're like, oh yeah, I can do something for you. And then they're quickly trying to find an answer because they don't have one, right? While they're like, yeah, let me get your proposal. I'll be right back to you. And then all of a sudden something pops up, right? So I love the automatedness of this conversation. I love that it pulls in, automatically, and the 90-day backwards is kind of cool, right? Because then it's kind of like hey, I'm going to drive the car before I buy it, which is cool. I think that's a really cool feature. Of course, we heard all the right things earlier, right? No minimums, month to month, multi-tenanted. I assume that, the next question that usually comes after all of that is, well, like, what's support look like?
I mean, it depends, if you're going through one of our distribution partners, they obviously going to take on that first tier of support. We're lucky enough to work with, one of the best out there, if not the best out there in PAX 8. I still bleed a little bit of black and green, and sometimes I'll be on a call and I'll say we when I'm on with the PAX-8 team, because it's, I've never really got away from them, because at Line Guard, we worked with them heavily. I work directly with their teams every day. And so their support team is one of the best out there. And then obviously our direct support, you're going to be able to reach out to my partner technical manager, Felix, who's amazing. You'll be able to reach out to our CSM team. You'll be able to reach out to our support team directly. And in any immediate scenario, you can always reach out to me.
That's awesome. I love that. If you were to say, like, we already talked about Microsoft and Google a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of spam filtering products out there. Like, what do you think would be like the one, the top 2 or 3 things that, like, hey, yeah, you have a lot of solutions out there. This is what sets us apart from the rest.
So first thing that comes to mind is our AI. She's always learning. And the problem with, the filters and that type of a solution is that when you whitelist things in this day and age, I think that's one of the most dangerous things that you can do with the amount of credential harvesting and account takeovers that are happening. Because say that I whitelist you, George, at BVoIP, but someone takes your account over and you're a trusted source, and then they're using your account to phish my organization, then all of that mail is going to get through unscanned. And so with us, our AI is able to look for spam. We're able to identify it. And if there is false positives, which, there will be from time to time in any email security solution, all it is a click of a button. You mark it safe. It'll revert back to that user and every other user's inbox. And then our machine learning and Themis kick in, and they start to recognize those habits. And then over time, she just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so she's actually doing all of the work for you. So you don't have to go in on the back end like a traditional model where you have to basically inspect, you have to classify the incident, you have to do all of these different steps. And then one of those steps is basically going in and creating policies or rules in the back end every time one of these events happen, which if you're a larger MSP or even a smaller MSP where your time should be focused on revenue generating business and not OpEx and operational expenses, which is spending time in the vendor platform, which we all know the enemy of all managed service contracts is time. And so we are trying to not only give our MSPs the ability to, with like the 90-day scan back, to give them the leverage to go out and sell, but we're trying to give them that time back through our AI and through the automation that we're trying to provide.
Okay. There it is. I mean, I think, there's really no risk to try it, right? I mean, like, it's not like you're locking yourself into a 3-year contract, when you go to step in and swipe the credit card. So
I would never build it that way.
some people do. I mean, I know we all know that the PEVC guys out there have their way, right? I mean, it's a fair question. I'm going to ask it right now because it seems to come up all the time. Like, you guys, what's your situation, right? You got investors in there? Like, obviously, if you do, you've found a way to not have the playbook applied. So, what's the background of Ironscales look like, if you know?
I mean, Ironscales has been around. I actually sold Ironscales at PAX-8. They were the first real security company that I believe that we brought in after the first initial 7 that were there when I started. And so they've been around since 2000. We've been around since 2014. We're now based in Atlanta as an Israel-founded email security company, like a lot of these security companies are nowadays. But yeah, we have a good set of investors. We have, we're doing what's best for the organization every step of the way and trying to do what's best for our customers. And that's where we're really putting a lot of our money and our time right now is into R&D and into taking the feedback that we're receiving from our customers to try to, and our partners and our distribution partners such as PAX-8, to evolve and grow and, continue on this path that we've been fortunate enough to be on so far.
That's awesome. So even though they're investors and even though the company wasn't, originally started here in the US, they still have applied the, we're not going to lock you in if you don't want to be locked in. You can go month to month, no minimum. Try it before you buy it. I mean, sounds like it's what we want to see in MSP land.
Yep. Yep, exactly. And we do have different avenues that we're going through as well. We are expanding other parts of our business, but what we're focused on, what I'm focused on in the MSP space, I've built it out through, like through the sandbox, through learning from the sandbox over years of time and building it out. That was my goal here. We didn't have an MSP direct division. We focused on going through distribution. And so now that I've taken over the reins, I've basically built it out how we've all learned it should be.
Fair enough.
I'm sure that I'll find some mistakes that I've made along the way, but at least I'm trying to build it out the right way so those mistakes are easier to fix than if I had to kind of rip out a whole program and replace it.
Nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect. We all know that, but like the willingness to be flexible is important. I think I think that's the main gist of like any true partnership, right? A little bit of give, a little bit of take, find a way to meet everybody in the middle as best as possible. That's usually a good recipe for success. So that probably means we're going to see you out and about between now and the end of the year at some of these events coming up.
Yeah, I'll be at Big next week.
There it is. Can't go wrong with the Diplomat Beach Resort in good old Fort Lauderdale. It's actually a pretty nice place.
Yeah, we'll see. I've gotten some reviews of like where to go, where to stay away from in that area. I was like, I'll probably be with the same group the whole time, like in the same place. So, but the Diplomat does look nice. It looks like it's been redone lately. And with your travel card, depending on what you have, you get some automatic upgrades when you check in. So we'll see if we can get one of those infamous Adam Slutskin suite parties or something going on when we're out there.
He really does love this. It's a little old school, but that's the thing. I know, like I like to, there's sometimes the suite can only hold so many people at one time though.
Exactly.
So I like to go a little bit bigger.
Yeah, me too. Like a boat.
Like a boat. Hey, can't go wrong with the boat.
I'm on a boat.
Wow. Yeah, like the song. Yeah. Oh, let's hope. I didn't even, you know what? Let's just do it right now because now I'm worried. Let's see. What is the weather next week in Fort Lauderdale? Can we see? Let's see. You're like, Florida, it should always be good.
There's a hurricane.
A couple times in Florida. Let's see. Always have that mid-afternoon rainstorm. Let's see. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Of course, Wednesday, 30% chance of rain. The rest of the week, sunny. Why does that happen?
So you heard it here first. Bring your rain jackets, folks.
Yeah. Like Saturday, Sunday, in case you went in early. Monday, Tuesday, sunny. Wednesday, 30% chance of rain. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sunny. Oh, man. That always gets me, man. But it looks like the rain is in the morning. So hopefully that's the case. Because the boat is in the afternoon, evening time frame.
On Wednesday?
On Wednesday, yeah. So the boat's at like 6 to 9. So yeah, the rain looks like it's in the morning. I say all this, and then last year in Orlando we had like the hurricane.
Oh, that was during the All-American Rejects. That was a fun one.
Oh man. I'm glad I'm bald, dude. I don't got any more hair to pull out.
I know, I'm pulling the trigger.
There it is. Yeah, me and you shop at the same place, I think. All good.
Yeah. I need to still find one of those good razors. I'm still kind of too lazy, and so it gets a little bit long. I need to find something good that's easy and quick for me to use.
I try and say something that TSA won't stop me for.
Yes.
Although the Denver airport, I guess they added like, how they pretty much bring everybody into that main security wing before you get on the plane. So like apparently like they put this additional TSA pre-check section like on the side, and like somehow, some way I lucked into rolling through this, like they don't have clear yet at that area. It's just pre-check, and like it comes in on the other side of where the main thing comes in. Man, that was a godsend, man, because sometimes that line in at Denver is like out the door.
Yeah, I have a clear and pre-check, but sometimes I'll skip that even. And if you go up to the left, there's actually one that takes you right into a terminal up top before you go down.
Mm,
And that thing is pretty untouched sometimes, which is
amazing.
nice. And skip everything.
Yeah, it's just such a weirdly laid out airport. It's a head scratcher. And I didn't realize that I guess the train is free, like July and August or something. So, but yeah, the tram or the train system.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, see that? Hooking you up, man.
Teaching me about my own city. I love it.
I mean, you gotta work with train schedules, which not doesn't always align, right? As a guy who lives in suburban Philadelphia, the train system's called SEPTA here, Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, and I can't. Maybe I've only taken SEPTA 10 times in my life. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I'm a drive guy. Gonna say.
Yeah,
Seems like
me
you.
too. I'm a drive guy myself.
Yeah, 100%. So we
Yeah.
can see at Big. Maybe you might pop out to one of these other things happen for the end of the year. It's like that conference row where all these events happen side by side by side.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll definitely be out and about.
I love it. Out and about. Somewhere where probably Ken Patterson might be.
I mean, I hope so, and I hope not at the same time. No, but yeah, probably somewhere Ken Patterson will be.
Yeah, or Adam with the suite. I got you.
Or Adam.
Where do you see, like I think Jay McBain from Canalys just put out a thing where like MSPs are now starting to have like a negative outlook on the like for the rest of the year, right? Going into next year on like the economy, right? I still think the question is out, right? I don't think it's really hit as hard as we thought it was going to. Like, or do you feel from the people that you're talking to on a regular that it's business as usual, pedal down, all nothing, no problem, or are you starting to feel like a little bit of a slower time kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a chance to sync up with Jay for quite a while at Beyond, and very smart guy. Their Canalys is they're unique and they have their stuff together. And so when it comes to that situation, though, I can't say that I've noticed too big of an impact or too big of a what's the right word? The MSPs are too threatened by what's going to happen. One of the things during all of this kind of downslide or economic fall, if you want to call it that, has been technology has been pretty constant. And
Fair.
so there's a business, and especially now that businesses are back up and running, SMBs are back up and running, people can go out and about. COVID isn't locking everybody in their house. It's just a different situation. And if there's one thing that COVID did, it taught everybody out there that about how important technology is and how important the work that these MSPs and these vendors are doing to make it so they can continue to live their lives and function and make money and do their jobs remotely. And so I think that's one of the positives that came out of COVID. And that's why a lot of people are still working from home. And a lot of these businesses will allow remote workforces that never did before, because they did an analysis of their workforce after that first year of COVID. And they realized that their people were just as more productive, if not more productive, when working from home. And they had a better quality of life because they weren't spending 2 hours on the road mad at traffic and mad at the world every day, and then coming home mad because of traffic, and then that ripple down effect on the family comes down. And so that's just been one of the positives that came from COVID and everything else. But I have faith. I'm more of a positive type of person, so whatever happens, we're going to keep on trucking, we're going to keep on rolling, and we'll be here to help whoever's needed.
No, 100%. By the way, I love the positive outlook. I do agree that technology historically, marches to its own drum or beats to its own drum. That's fair. Hopefully, people have taken, and then it comes back to what we talked about earlier, right? Like your end customer has a lot of pressure on them, right? Being in front of the MSP, like if something happens, you don't want to be stuck on the other side paying for something where your end customer stopped paying you. That's the worst position to be in. It's a crap sandwich is maybe a George way of explaining it. Um, so I like people on the vendor side, on the supplier side that understand that, right? Because like, if your partner's only going to be as healthy as the ability for them to be, stay on the positive side of the cash flow story, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I know everybody's out there to make money, totally understand, but at the end of the day, like we want these partners to be as healthy as possible. And I think that, technology, the reason I think a lot of these people pick technology other than, they just like toys. And I'll admit that was part of why I like technology. I also like to fix things though, right? Like break it, put it back together again, kind of thing. But I think part of the other problem, and we hear it all the time, Chris, I'm sure this comes up in your conversations, is risk, right? The MSP is taking on more and more and more risk in order to, either hold on to customers or onboard new customers. And I think part of the problem is that convincing the end customer to spend more money than they think is reasonable to spend on this conversation forces people into a position where kind of don't have locks on your doors and windows, right? Like you're kind of just hoping and praying that you're in a safe neighborhood, but chances are if somebody really wants to do something, they're going to not have a lot of barriers to create a problem.
Yeah, and that risk it's tough to swallow, and that's where I think just making sure that you have to have your own house secure first, right? You have to have your own house secure before you can secure anyone else's, and do things like make sure that you're certified, make sure that you are GRC, you're integrating or working with GRC or cyber insurance organizations. So when you're having the conversations with these clients, it's easier to explain the risk that they're taking by not maybe spending this extra money, and being able to have those legitimate business conversations and examples of organizations like themselves that have suffered because they didn't make that decision. It's like posing that question like, hey, spend this now or spend this later, right? Spend a little bit now, spend a lot later. And it's like, can you afford downtime? How much is this going to cost you if you go down? Could you lose your business? It's these serious conversations where you're not so much talking about their business, but you're talking about their lives and their family. And so that's where that whole human element comes in, to where, yes, we like toys. Yes, we like to try to break and fix things, but I was never that way. I didn't know what the cloud was until like 3 weeks of working in PAX 8. And I finally figured it out on an Ironscales call when I was like, oh, it's just they're more secure data. Okay, I got this now. Now I'm good. And so for me, it was always about truly believing that I'm helping people. And so for me, that's where I always take things. And I think that's what's allowed me to be as successful as I am, as I've always tried to put people first. And it's been a good route for me.
That's awesome. Where do people find more information about how to reach you, look into Ironscales, learn more about the platform a little bit, maybe get some more information?
Yeah, so you can go to ironscales.com and click on partner, and you can find our information there, or you can reach out to me directly at C Marquez, Marquez at ironscales.com. Or go to, the easiest way, ironscales.com, or just reach out to me directly. Or if you're a PAX 8 partner, feel free to hit up your PAX 8 CAM or SSC. They will be able to provide you all of the information that you need, or get me involved if necessary. And as we mentioned before, for MSP partners, it's free to get started. We'll give you a free NFR to protect your team internally as well. And then for your clients, we offer 14 to 30-day trials, depending on what route you go, which will give you enough time to run that free 90-day scan back and find out exactly what we would have caught that your existing provider doesn't, and hopefully help you, win some more business and open your eyes up and open your clients' eyes up to the risk that they are taking by not utilizing more advanced product, and by not getting the training that they really need, because the training is a key component in all of email security, because when technology fails, you have to depend on the individual.
Yeah. Wow. We know not all individuals are maybe the best cybersecurity people out there. That's for sure. They're more busy clicking on Facebook sometimes or Instagram. Yeah, or fantasy football because it's coming up. I got you, man. I know. I'm sure. I know. I knew you were a fantasy football guy. How many leagues are you in?
For 3,
Yeah. What's the biggest buy-in?
500.
Okay, that's real money, man.
It was last year we ended up having a tie because
Huh?
I had Josh Allen in the unfortunate game of that Bills
That
game.
got canceled. So how did you handle that?
So we ended up chopping it because we didn't know how to handle it. And I was in second play. I was playing that hit I was in a game and the other player was done. All of his players had finished, and I had Josh Allen, and all he needed was 30 points total. And that's
Totally doable.
basically his average for the season. And so me and one of my friends, luckily he was nice enough to understand that the situation that I was in, and we decided to just chop it.
Okay, so did you end up winning the league or not?
Well, we tied. It was the championship game that this
So
happened.
did you split it?
Yeah, we just split it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
that was a
tough decision. That's unheard of, and nothing like that's ever happened before.
I, I hope it doesn't happen again,
Oh
man.
yeah,
That was some
I'm
pretty
just glad to
scary
see him
stuff.
back on the field and playing ball again. That's what's most important.
I mean, that could be like an end of your career. I mean, the guy almost died. I mean, end of your life. But like, all right, we pulled it out. We made it. Now the thing that you've been doing your entire life from this point, right? Can you still do it? It's pretty serious stuff.
That is serious stuff. That would be terrifying, but and that's why it's so cool. I think of like technology that we may not work in and we may not know much about, but the technology that saved his life on the field and in the ambulance and in the hospital that's allowing him to play football again. It's one of those things that makes you kind of humble and appreciative for
100%,
everything that
man.
that
All
we
right.
have.
So I'm not gonna let you go until I get you on the record. What's your schedule prediction for your Broncos? How many wins? I'm sure you've done this already.
Oh, let's go 11-7.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
11-6, 11-6 or
11
7,
and 6, right?
11-6, 11-6.
Okay. I mean, that's a bold statement, Cotton. Okay. You feel
We got
confident?
this. We got this.
All right.
We got a tough division.
Yeah. Very tough division. I'm
Yeah.
gonna write that down. We'll come back to you later on in the season and see how you're
11-6,
doing.
11-6.
Okay. All right. Whatever ends up happening, I think the Eagles, for the first time, I think the NFC East hasn't had a back-to-back division winner since 2004, which was actually the Eagles.
We
I
know it
think
wasn't the Cowboys.
we know it wasn't the Cowboys. I think they stopped playing football in 1995. If
Yeah,
memory
I think
serves.
that's what the was.
I think the NFC East comes through Philadelphia. I think the NFC comes through South Philadelphia. I think there's a very, very good possibility that the Eagles will be appearing in the Super Bowl again.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, the toughest test I've grown up at Denver, born and raised, but I always grew up a huge 49er fan. Jerry Rice was my favorite player of all time growing up as a kid, watching.
You have that much stock in Brock Purdy?
Oh, well, that's the whole thing. It's if depending on that quarterback situation there, we're going to be in, they might be.
You know what? I think the best quarterback that the 49ers have is going to be starting in Vegas this year.
Yeah, maybe.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy. Oh, man, that's frustrating. I'm not a huge Jimmy G fan, but that you might be right.
I mean, I would argue that the Raiders might have a better season than the Niners.
Hey, the kid got it done in the playoffs.
But did he? He got knocked out, and then his backup got knocked out, and then they basically had the water boy back there.
Yeah, I'm saying we should start the water boy.
I mean, it worked in the movie. Did you hear they're coming out with Waterboy 2, by the way?
Oh man, I don't know. Is it with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a peek. I'm not a big sequel guy, You know, the best sequel
Yeah.
that's come out in a long time was Top Gun 2, but
Yes, 100% agree. They absolutely crushed Top Gun too.
yeah, just the storyline in general, it was just fantastic. And so,
That was,
but
I
yeah,
mean, like, I
I'm not a
probably watched that movie 15 times already.
oh, me too, me too.
So good.
But yeah, we'll
Uh,
see. If all said and done, though, in all honesty, your Eagles are tough. You guys have a great squad. I believe that it'll probably go through your way as well.
I love championship games in South Philadelphia. I really do. One thing I can promise you, like you can take this to the bank, is that the field will not look like a water rink in South Philadelphia.
Right? It's like,
Not gonna
Ken, you
happen.
gonna come skate out here? Like, are they gonna ice this? Are they gonna ice this out when you're done and let you
It may
skate on
feel like concrete, but it will not be wet. I can promise you that.
it?
Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. Okay, that's it. I've said my piece. Chris, it was appreciate you jumping on. I will definitely see you in Fort Lauderdale, Big. I'm sure if you're going to be popping out to some of these other events, if you make it, we'll be there. Really nice, running into you. Maybe we'll trade some, head shaving secrets next time we see each other.
Yeah, we can just talk head shaving secrets, talk a little trash about the Cowboys. I'm in.
I love how that's like the universal thing. Everybody likes to talk trash because they're the Cowboys, America's team.
Right? It's like there's one thing that we can agree on, as long as you're not from Texas. It's the hate of the Cowboys.
It just burns me every year when they come out and they're the highest valued sports team in all of the whole world. Every year, it just burns me a little bit. You can have it as long as you don't win anything. We're good. I'll leave you on
right.
this.
Seriously.
I'll leave you on this. So they said, I'm sure you saw it. Jalen Hurts turned 25 like a month ago. He's never seen the Cowboys go to the championship game in his entire
His
life.
life. Yeah, I did see that. That's what's hilarious.
Just saying. All right, we recorded this session. We'll get it posted on mspinitiative.com under sessions in a little bit. Check out ironscales.com, click on partner, hit Chris Marquez. He spelled it earlier. He's on all the platforms, I'm sure.
I'm on LinkedIn, anywhere else.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, everyone else who's listening to this. Catch you guys on the next one.
Oh, wait, real quick, I got one for you. We could do the Rocky.
Okay.
You could just yell out and be like, "Hey, Chris," from the Rocky reference. Yeah, Adrian, when he's
Yeah. I got you. Should I stop by the Rocky Steps and just FaceTime you? Is that what we're gonna do?
Yes,
I
that'd
can
be
do that
wonderful.
too.
All right, thanks, y'all.
You got it. See ya.